The following Earth Angel Media presentation is brought to you commercial-free as a gratuity from the sponsor producer named after the show. Please consider their message. Find other high-value shows listed at earthangelproject.com. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Soul Decodes. Join us as we wander off the path to find the ideas that fascinate. We talk about spirituality, the mind, the ego, wellness, and hidden history with tips, travels, and tales. Charms for a better life.
And we're on the air. Sarah,
great.
Tirri, welcome to the treehouse.
Thank you, darling. Lovely to be here.
Isn't this weather gorgeous?
It's absolutely divine and getting better.
Divine and getting better. So, welcome everybody. My name is Dr. Jolie Phillips, and I'm the co-hostess. I want to introduce our amazing hostess. She's Sarah Tirri. She's an author. For me, she's definitely a great friend. But she's an entrepreneur. She gives charitably, and every day we have something else to talk about.
Yes.
And every day I'm totally surprised. Like, there's not a day where we...
Well, this one's going to be about the ego.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I lost my ego a long time ago.
Well,
So,
I'm still working on it.
so for those of you who are surprised with whatever our next episode's going to be about, welcome, because I'm always surprised as well. So this is Soul Decodes, and this is Sarah Tirri. Go ahead.
Well, part of decoding the soul requires we inspect our ego. And so so about 15, 20 podcasts ago, you talked about the encounter you had with a band member when you went to Vegas, and that you felt that he needed to be replaced with a better vocalist. And then you had that whole ego encounter with him. So the similar thing happened to me last week, okay? So it's kind of interesting. So I'd met this guy a few months ago, and I was going to produce his poetry, publish his poetry in an anthology, have him on the radio station recording it, and then having him in a live event reading it out loud. So I travelled to England, came back, and then I got COVID. And so I started working on it. It was last weekend, last Saturday. And it was a lovely poem. I'm going to call him John. His name's not John, but I'm going to refer to him as John. It was a lovely poem of a death, going to the afterlife, meeting whoever you need to meet, and then coming back to the planet again. So I got his poem, and quite a lot of it needed developing. It needed more vocabulary. You needed to change the way it was laid out because there were too many words. And I sent it back to him. This is for a review. And he said he didn't want anyone to touch the words. It had to be the way he originally said it had to be. And it was really good, but it wasn't everything it could be. So, and he hadn't read my edit either. He just said he wasn't going to change it. So 3 hours later, I emailed him back and I said, I don't think we're a good fit, because coming right out the gate, and I thought it was quite demanding. I thought it was unreasonable. And no one goes on your first draft. I mean, when you're a writer, you do so many drafts. But I said it very, very politely. And I told him my reasons why. And I said, you're a great guy, and please call in if you get the chance. So he texted me back, and it was about midnight. And I'd woken up at midnight, and I saw it was an email. And he was really worried about me plagiarising his poems. And he didn't call me Sarah, he called me Mrs. Tirri, which was strange. And he said he's really concerned that either I'll plagiarise them, or... He didn't accuse me of it. He said, I want it to be understood that you can't use these poems, you can't publish them under a pseudonym. And I would just never take someone else's work and do that.
Never crossed your mind.
Oh, and I was just like really indignant. So I sent him an email back and I said, I'm not accustomed to being insulted in this way, but please, I understand that what was the word I used? I can't quite remember, but I understood his agitation. I said, please rest assured, I would never use your poetry and masquerade it as my own in my name or any other name. And then I sent that back. And then the following day, he sent me another email. And that was one, you're a selfish bitch. You got my hopes up and you've dashed my hopes. I think you're a crappy writer. I've thrown your books in the trash. and it was just very, very mean and spiteful. And I didn't respond to that one because now I'm just like, I just can't pull myself into that low grade energy. But then now I have to look at my own ego in this, not just his ego. That's very obvious. So I'm saying to myself, but I'm not sure whether this is ego or soul. I'm glad that I found out early who he was, because that was unbelievable, that reaction. And then part of me feels that I did get his hopes up, and I would have done everything that I said I was going to do. So he probably did have his hopes dashed. And I feel like I should have compassion about that, because that's not a nice feeling, is it? But in his degree of inflexibility and an unwillingness to, if I'm going to publish an anthology, it has to be the best it can be. I wouldn't want to put crap out there. And I'm not saying it was crap.
Well,
but
I want you to do mine then.
I'll do. Don't you call me a selfish bitch in the middle of the night.
Well, I mean,
so I'm wrestling with my own.
Not with you in front of me. Not in your presence, I wouldn't.
Oh,
no,
just in your dreams.
Right. Okay, so
yeah,
that's
it's been a very uncomfortable week.
That's like not okay, but you're still smiling.
Yes, I want to make sure, because I believe that when you have things that happen in your life like this, they happen for a reason. And I feel that there's unfinished business. And I feel that we'll come back and we'll have to deal with this again. You can't leave this planet if you're hoping to graduate and have this all left open like that. So I'm feeling, but I have to worry about my own ego coming in, because my own ego is like, fuck this shit. You were really rude and really nasty, and I don't want anything to do with you. And that's my ego's position, and I can hear it. It's as clear as day. I've got this other voice saying, well, maybe you should apologise for, I could have let him down. I mean, I was quite direct, and I'm quite a direct person. Maybe I could have let him down a little more softly. Maybe I could have negotiated with him a bit. So I feel that maybe I should say to him, I'm sorry for how I handled it. It's a difficult
there's
one.
so many things to unpack here.
Yeah.
But so let me ask you this, like, looking back, this is been a few days now? All right. Looking back at your intuitive level, is there anything like major that you would feel like you should do differently? Like, this is a question I always ask my children when they were growing up. Would you do something different now that it's in your rearview mirror?
Right, yeah.
Would you do something different?
I think if I take a lesson from it, it would be, because I should have realised how disappointed he was going to be, because we talked about it and he'd got his hopes up. Had I have anticipated that, I felt that I could have said to him, listen, I'm not prepared to publish a first draft, but not just end it. But when he said, I'm not going to read your edit and I'm not changing any of the words in it, at that point I realised I couldn't work with someone like that. That would be very difficult. And I'm financing this whole project.
You are?
Yes. So, and I knew that I couldn't work with that. So I'm okay with my decision. And then when he came out and just displayed this part of his character, I'm actually quite pleased that it just happened early on. But I just want to make sure that because it could be that I could get in touch with him in a couple of weeks and then just say, this is how I feel about it. I mean, Tony, my husband, would say, don't touch it with a barge pole, leave it in the rearview mirror. But I don't want this, but I sometimes worry that it's an unfinished end that will require that I address this either now, and I don't want to have to fucking be reborn to deal with this little clown. You know?
Yeah, sure. This thing is not worth coming back for. No. Can we have a discussion about this?
Yes, please,
right?
yes.
So, first of all, I get the whole thing about the ego. And it's difficult sometimes. That's why I always ask, like, when my only daughter was growing up, she was having a hard time with friendships. And it wasn't, part of it was her, but part of it was the other kids too. Like, you have to find that balance because everything's about relationships. And she was really in a dark spot. And I asked her, I said, sweetheart, how would you like to have 10 friends exactly like you? And she said, I would love that. and I said, so that's a good answer.
Tony would love that too.
But that's a really genuine question, and it's a genuine answer.
Yes, sure.
Because it's like, okay, so from your perspective, it's really not you. Like, if you know in your heart that you want 10 friends just like you, then we have to discuss that.
Yes.
Because that's either you're living in some fantasy world.
Well, it would be easy for her to have friends like her then because she could relate to them. Having friends that are not like you, it's harder to work that out as a kid, isn't it?
Right.
So it's a very honest answer.
But it's an honest answer.
Yeah.
So I'd love to have friends. Okay, so let's have a conversation about what transacted there. And then we'd have, is this the behavior that you would have elicited? Right. And I like to separate things. A lot of times, you talk in terms of your ego self and your other self. As a holistic practitioner, I see them all as one.
I want them to work as one.
Yeah.
I don't want to be ego dominant, though.
Right.
I don't want to come down on him so hard because he's a fellow human being. I mean, he was really rude to me, but I just want to make sure my reaction isn't totally ego dominant because I do have a very well-structured ego. But that works for me. I'm a strong person and I like that. And no one's going to treat me like a doormat. And that happened as a result of my childhood. At some point, I must have said, I'm going to strengthen myself here. But you're seeing it as, and I believe that ego and higher mind and ego, they should be working as one cohesive, beautiful mechanism.
Yeah. So,
but I don't want to strike out on the ego side with it at the balance.
Yeah, I don't think you need to worry about that. You're amazing. I know you're tending to look at things right now from a position of, ego versus non-ego or ego versus
higher mind,
esoteric, whatever.
Yeah.
But what I've tended to do over my life, like especially this past 30 years, is kind of, instead of separating it that way, separate it. First of all, I look at everybody as divine, perfect soul. Yeah. This is not a character thing. I don't look at them as a deficient as a character, as a soulful character in any regard. So I separate them more along the lines of character versus behavior. Right. And I taught my children that too. Like I would never call you, it's like, Sarah, you're a stupid idiot. Like I would never say you're, anything like that. I would say, Sarah, you're such a beautiful friend. And, I just love virtually everything about you. I do have questions about your behavior and I'm trying to resolve this in my brain. Is this something we can talk about? Right. Right. So it's like, I'm not calling you a name. Like I'm not challenging your ego. I'm not challenging you.
Yeah, you've selected your words very carefully and sweetly.
But I'm very, very, like almost once a week, I'm talking to people about their behaviors. Yeah. But it's framed.
You framed it well.
It's framed up in this position of, look, I love you and I adore you. I think you're amazing. A lot of times I love those people more than they love themselves. But I still have to address the behavior, so I try to keep them separate. As recently as this week, somebody tried to pull me into their drama. There's a husband and a wife. I'm friends with both of them.
Is this the one where the husband's, he's the one that he has health issues?
Nope. I got plenty of those, though.
Yeah, okay.
But this is just a husband and wife. I mean, he does have health issues.
Right.
So the answer is yes, but I don't know if it's the same one you're talking about. Plus, I can't talk about it anyway. But anyway, so there's husband and wife. They're going through a divorce. It's one of those nasty divorces. And it doesn't have to be that way, but each one of them wants me and my wife to be pulled into their camp. Yeah. But we've told them for 6 months now, look, we love you both. We honor you both. You're both going through some crap. We're not going to take sides. Yeah. We're just not going to do it.
Do you privately understand who's the one causing it and who's the one that's a victim, or are they both as bad as each other?
Oh, they're both psycho.
They're both nuts.
they're both. But you know what? In truthfulness, that's not that's a transient thing. Like being psycho is what it is. It's like to me that's not a negative thing, because I know when I went through my divorce, like 29 years ago, I was psycho. Yeah. But it was reactionary. It's like, holy crap, because I didn't get married to get unmarried. Like my intent was to stay in that forever and ever. Amen. Yeah, I went to marriage counseling by myself for a year. And finally the counselor's like, I think we're as far as we can go with you. Yeah. So like you need to, this is not going to work with one of you. Yeah. So I just bring that up. Like, I think that when there's circumstances, there's chances for all of us, to be psycho.
When you said to this couple, we're not going to take sides and we don't want to get involved, were they okay with that? They understood your need to be impartial?
Well, to me, I don't care if they're okay or not.
No, but were they?
I don't think so, because I think both of them loved Robin and me. They both wanted us to both be in their camp, because it's a logical fallacy called black or white. And the idea is that, well, if you're friends with Sarah, you can't be friends with Tia Jolie.
Yeah.
Like it's one or the other.
Yeah.
It's a logical fallacy, and it's not black or white.
And I think when people are in ego dramas, which is what a divorce is, then it's quite tempting to want to have someone on your side, isn't it? You get a load of people rallying around after you. It strengthens your own ego and your own decision making. I think that's what people want. I've been involved in a couple of those situations years ago. I got it was this gay couple at British Airways. I won't mention their names. I loved them, but they had marital problems, and I was drawn into it on both sides. And they ended up staying together, but because I'd been drawn in, then I was rejected, and it was absolutely tragic. It was awful, and I thought, you know what? Fuck that. That's never going to happen again. And so I never got there. It was
that I came dreadfully close to that with a family member. I won't say which one or if it's a primary or secondary family member, but somebody in my family, they were having marital problems. And each one of them, independent of each other, confided in me. And I didn't really say anything, didn't really take sides. But for each of them, I gave them private, individual consult. Yeah. And my consult's always about finding a space for grace. You fell in love with each other at some point in time, but when they gave me negative about each other, and I talked about that to them individually, when they ended up getting back together, I was like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah. I've tried to be a
all
friend to both of you and walk the line.
I didn't initiate anything. All I did was reflected back what they gave me. And then all of a sudden, I almost got in that pinch. So I stopped. It's like Robin and I are the same way. We're like, we love all y'all. If there's something I can do for you, I will help. Or for him, I will help. We're here to serve you. We're here to help you. But we're not doormats.
Right.
You don't get to wipe your feet on us and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, what happened was a friend, another mutual friend of theirs, sent me this, whatever. I'm not a Facebook person. I don't even read this stuff. She's like, your name was on this post. And I'm like, so? It's like one of them was trying to pull me into their camp on this thing. It basically said, Dr. Phillips and, 20-year Air Force captain is, pretty much on my side on this. And that was not true.
No.
That was bearing false witness because I never said that. I don't take sides. So now I get sucked in. So the person that referred this, she's like, what are you going to do about this? I said, nothing. I said, I'm going to address the behavior. I still love them both exactly where they are.
Yeah.
This behavior, I'll address the behavior, which I haven't done yet. This is just
okay.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
Hey, what is this all about? Like, I told you I don't take sides, but this thing you put out there to the world on Facebook.
Yeah. It's distortion.
This is a distortion of the truth because I'm not on your camp. I'm not on hers. I love you both equally. So I can see
and what do you guess her answer is going to be? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that, or will she defend that position?
Well, that was the guy.
A guy, okay.
What's interesting is I did communicate to the girl, and I said, just so you know, my position and Robin's is that we don't take sides. And because they're both in this divorce, it's a psychotic situation. Her answer was totally inappropriate. I just have to back away from it.
So her response to you was inappropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so now...
So now they're both acting inappropriately. But you know what? I can... This is so difficult because all you can really do is just,
Well, pull back to start with.
Yeah, I told Robin, I said, I can only do my best.
Yeah.
When the dust settles...
Yes.
And that's the thing. When there's chaos and they're in the mix, sometimes all you can do is just be quiet. And I find myself doing that and just literally saying, like, whenever I feel like my ego wants to engage, I just simply say, first of all, do I need to respond? No.
Yes.
Most of the time,
it's so petty. And
it's like fifth grade.
And
except for there's thousands of dollars involved in a house. So that takes it from fifth grade times 10. It's still fifth grade times 10.
With something at stake.
This is a good discussion because I think everybody listening to this has probably either been through this garbage. But I'm not negative on divorce. I think that sometimes I've been there. It's sometimes you have to.
Well,
go through
maybe
that.
it was in your life plan. Maybe, you have a marriage and you think it's for life because you romanticize that. You feel initially it should be. But maybe because if your first marriage had stayed intact, you wouldn't have met Robin.
Truly,
So you can't. There was no right or wrong about that. You had whatever you needed to work out, and so did
Right.
she. And then you move on. It doesn't have to be for life. We want it to be for life, and we say that for better or worse, rich or poor, and we want that, and that's a romantic notion. But sometimes it's not in our life plan.
And even as I was, because I ended up being the one that filed for divorce, even though it was against everything I did, I just realized it's just not going to work.
Yeah, flogging a dead
But even
horse.
after that happened, I continued to give and give, and I just primarily wanted my ex to finally find happiness, even if it's not with me.
That's nice.
Right? I just, and the first few years following a divorce is, it's a shit sandwich. I mean, there's nothing, there's no getting around it, especially with kids involved.
Yeah.
But ultimately, when I was going through my divorce, my ex was just all negative to all of our friends, trying to pull friends their way.
Yeah.
But the true friends, like I had two friends, both of them happened to be fellow military pilots. I never defended myself. I never called her bad names or anything. I was just always there, and I just I took a deep breath. Whenever the negative happened, I backed away from it. And one of my friends came up, military. We all have call signs. His name was Knocker and Cujo, two different pilots. But Knocker came up and said, he called me my call sign, which is Dealer, and he says, Dealer, I hear everything that's going on, and he says, I don't see it. Like I hear the noise, but I don't see it. I don't perceive it. My intuition.
Involve himself with it.
And he looked, and it was the first honest answer I had from anybody.
Nice.
Even my own siblings were discarding me. Yeah. And I said, and I cried. I said, Knocker, I said,
that's nice.
You're the first one to see through all this. I'm not going to throw my soon-to-be ex under the bus. But
that was nice of him,
one.
Spiritually mature as well.
Yeah, and he's a minister. Believe it or not, he's like a Baptist minister, which blew me away because I don't typically get there from Baptist ministers. They're usually, not usually, but the ones I've experienced have been not that.
Yes. So he was an
anomaly. So he was like this total anomaly as Baptist ministers go. So, you can't take one situation and judge all of them. My experience is that those things the divorce stuff is best left unchecked. Sadly, this friend that was doing the poetry and you had this agreement, that's a divorce.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. And especially for you, you're always so kind with your spending your money and investing in other people. Even now you brought some beautiful vegan, treats for us. Yeah. You're always so kind and you're always giving to other people. Intuitively, I just say you don't deserve this. But
yeah, I don't feel like a victim in it at all. I might never even talk to this guy again. And then when I make that decision, I'll flush him from my mind and I'll just put that down to a life lesson. Part of me said, well, maybe this is his lesson, because had he have handled this, had he have been more reasonable, and then when he's coming out and then just calling me all these unnecessary names, maybe this is set up that he's got something to work on, that he needs to realise you've really sabotaged yourself here because I was here for you and we could have done this. But then I worry, is that my ego saying that? Because your ego, it can be very, very tricky. So is this his lesson in life? Is he going to have to work this out? Or is that my ego saying that because I worry about that? Because it can be very deceptive. Mm-hmm. But it could just be his lesson. That's why this could have happened. I can move on. Nothing's changed in my life. And what he's done is really, if he apologised to me and he said, I've considered what I said, and I would be open to a discussion about moving on. I don't need to end this. Part of me thinks that this is so, who he revealed himself to be was right under the surface. It was right there, and that wasn't who I met when I saw him. I wouldn't have said that. It was really bitchy, nasty side to him. So again, I've got all these thoughts mulling around. Nothing's fully settled yet. I just want to check my own ego here, make sure that I handle this in a way, because I don't want to have to redo this situation. And then maybe I'll apologise for whatever I believe my part in it is. But, you know, again, producing poetry, producing anything, you can't use a first draft. You just don't do that. No publisher would take that on. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think the other
Bless
part of
the
it
mess.
is... the other part of it is, you know, this is the libertarian part of me coming... I view all transactions between adults as voluntary and consensual. So even you sitting here in my studio and us talking about this is based on voluntarism. Like you're voluntarily here, I'm voluntarily here. It's consensual because like I didn't force you.
No.
You didn't force me. I'm here because I love you and I want to promote what you have to say because you have a lot of really cool things to say. And I think the world needs to hear Sarah Tirri talk about these things. So I'm doing this because I want to. The truth is all transactions are voluntary. And you'll say, well, what about contracts? Well, you don't have to sign a contract. If you sign the contract, it's an agreement. Mm-hmm. So this harkens back to this. Do you remember there's a guy named, golly, what's his name? He was a pro football player that was kneeling down. Kaepernick?
Oh, yes.
Kaepernick? Okay. Kaepernick? Yeah, something like that.
Yes, so, you're close.
Okay, so people were getting their underwear in a bunch about this young football player.
What did he do, kneel down during the anthem?
He would kneel down during the national anthem. And so this was like a big discussion with a lot of people. Like my brothers are like, F him.
Yeah, my husband was like
I was like, F him kneeling for the... but here's the libertarian part of me saying, okay, first of all, there's a lot of us that are like not okay with the Pledge of Allegiance. Like it's like, I'm pledge allegiance to the flag. Well, what is a flag and how?
Right, there's deeper
if
questions.
I pledge, I can see a pledge allegiance to a king.
Yeah, that's what we have to do in assembly every morning.
A flag. So now we have to have.
Yes, that's interesting.
We have to have this discussion about what is the flag and who owns it,
and what does that represent?
Whose colors are those? So those are different conversations. But let's just pretend that the flag is supposed to be like these American ideals and the idea. I respect what they're saying. Is like if you're kneeling in front of the flag, you're not standing. Therefore, you're a turncoat.
Not a patriot. Yeah,
you're not a patriot. Yeah. It's like
dissented.
Okay, first of all, I'm a veteran. And I approve this message. If Colin, I think his name's Kaepernick.
I think it's something like that. You're close. Kaepernick, I thought.
Yeah, whatever.
Kaepernick or Kaepernick.
Somebody will correct us, but maybe we'll get him on the show and he can tell us.
We'll ask him.
But let's think this through, okay? If everything is a consensual agreement among consenting adults, I asked my brother, I said, okay, you're getting your underwear all bunched up about this person you don't know anything about. Have you seen his contract? Have you had a discussion with the owners of the football team? Was it part of his contract where he had to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance? Was it part of his contract? Was it part of his agreement? If not, like if he signed this multi-million-dollar contract.
Maybe they didn't address that part. Maybe it was just assumed that he would do that.
Well, an assumption in a contract doesn't exist, right? So if
you defend his right to do that?
I do.
Yeah.
Because
it didn't worry me one way or the other. Well, I thought this is going to be bad for you because my husband was like, what a dirtbag for doing that. So I wondered how that was going to play out for him. But he obviously found it necessary because he had his reasoning. He didn't just not do. He considered that obviously. Well,
and I don't know the guy. I don't know his family life. I really don't even know his name. So let's be truthful. But just in terms of backing away and saying, okay, from a libertarian standpoint. Did he hurt anybody? Is anybody bleeding? No.
No.
Did he cause any harm? Did he lie, cheat, steal?
No.
Did he break a contract? Well, that's the question. I don't know.
And if he did, it's none of your business really anyway. It's like...
It's a contract between the team's owner.
But people really like to have an opinion about something like that. It doesn't enter... I just couldn't care too much. I've got so many things I think about. Well, that's your choice, your life. I do pledge allegiance. I love this country. I'm so happy to be a citizen of this country.
I love this country too.
I have my hand on my heart, and but I don't hate him for not being like me.
The reason I brought this pro football player up is because you've got this poet and you that had some sort of an agreement.
Yes.
And I don't know if it was written.
No, it wasn't.
Informal.
It was just informal.
So,
like yours and mine.
was his agreement with you that you were going to edit his stuff, or was his agreement? Was his expectation of you?
No, because I said to him, if you should have told me this out the gate, that you wanted everything on first draft, that everything that you wrote has to be first draft. Had he have said that, there wouldn't have been an agreement, because things have to be developed and teased and worked. You have to read them out, and you've got to be really critical. And I get his ego, because I've worked with a lot of editors who have been brutal, and it is a blow to your ego. I mean, it's really, really difficult to take that, but I've had editors that have really improved my work by kind of goading me, by saying, no, this is not good, you haven't said this, and they've picked flaws, and that made me a better writer. So, but it is challenging for someone to say, because I think he thought this wasn't good enough as it was, and then when I had changed it and shrunk this and embellished that and changed vocabulary, I believe that I'd improved it. We said that we were going to do that I was going to edit it, but then when it actually came to reading, which he didn't read it, he read the first one, it was just too much for him. But I get, because my ego did that. I didn't react the way he did, but I was like, fuck this shit. Who does he think he is? I mean, it's very difficult, because you take it personally, and no one likes to be critiqued. But what I wanted him to see is that we'll take this poetry, and he was very good. His story arc was great, his themes were great, but it just needed work, but everything does. There's no author or poet that's published anything on the first draft context. So we didn't get that far with it. But I understand that, that was a blow to him. And he saw it somehow as that he should have been able to keep these 3 poems that he wanted without them being edited, because they were dear to his heart. But this is a business for me. This isn't, if you want some vanity publishing, then you can just do that yourself.
Just go do your own podcast.
Go do it at Kinko's or whatever. But this has to be really good poetry, and everything has to be really explored to its best. And he didn't see that from that business side. He had much more of a sentimental play over that. But I get it. He's protective over his words.
So I think some of this just boils down to, again, the communication model of managing expectations. Because you had certain expectations that you're established as this businesswoman. You're taking the high road and helping him advance himself. And you have this belief structure about what your roles and responsibilities are. If I see any ego in this, it's you saying, well, these are my roles and responsibilities. Why don't you appreciate me for my knowledge and for my there's part of that there, but
of course, yeah.
But I'm saying it's legitimate because you are the real deal. On the creator side, the creators are different people, right? Yeah. And so he probably labored, and he's probably got God knows how many hours into this, making it perfect. And without even looking at your edits, this is clearly an ego move, because if he would have looked at the edits, thought about them, considered them, and said, yeah, stat, I'm just going to keep mine, then that would be a different conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
Or you can have a conversation about it, but the fact that he didn't even look at the edits would be that was really an unmet expectation, because his expectation was, he was going to go, he was going to give it to you, and that was going to flow. I think that he was stunned, he was surprised.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think there was an unmet expectation both ways.
Both ways, yeah.
Because, well, you thought he would maybe respond with this, thank you so much. Because that's the way you would have responded. But
it was. I'd like to think that I would have done. My thing was, what I want this to be the best version of it could be, which is an editor's job. He had this sentimental attachment to this being some type of channeled work. He said he got up at 3 a.m. and it was channeled from spirit. And I kind of get what that means, because sometimes when I write, I'm like, well, where did that come from? It's kind of a weird. But so he wanted to keep this. I think he should have said this out the gate, and then I could have made a better decision, maybe. I think I'm gonna sit on it. I just want to make sure that I understand what my part in this was, and whether I ever talk to him again, it's important that I don't take whatever that flaw and weakness was of me into another project in the future. So I have to see this as a learning curve.
It's beautiful. I think you're in a good place. I know that there's some relationships I've had in my past where I totally did not transgress them, but they felt transgressed.
Right.
What I've done in those circumstances, I would say, I just want to let you know, and I usually write this out, so it's just
it's thought about.
They know that I really, and even handwrite with a note.
Oh, okay.
Just so that they can't. It's unambiguous. I usually just say, I want to let you know that although we won't be working together, I still value you, and I value what you're doing, and I've appreciated the time we've spent together. And I personally want to apologize for any of my shortcomings, misgivings, misunderstandings about what your objectives are. I want to, even though you don't have to respond to this.
You're going to write this for me. I love it.
Well,
that was really well said.
Well, I've said it dozens of times. And
I love it. It's laid out really well.
But the idea is that, I was, where were you? I was expecting a lot. Mm-hmm. Where are we? This path, this impasse,
this is
right?
broken now, yeah.
But I want you to know moving forward that I'm a cheerleader for you. I love you, and I want you to succeed. And I want you to, I'm asking for forgiveness for either things that I've done or things that I've failed to do. Just, I'm putting it out there. You don't even have to reply to this.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for me. If I could do something better in the future for somebody else,
I'm going to try
to do it. Yeah. So nothing personal. I think the world of you, and I want you to move forward.
That would be a lie, though, because I don't think the world from him. I think he's a nasty little shit. That's what my ego says, right?
Well, then put
the way
that
that
in
you
there, just say,
spoke to me, it's like I've got these two voices.
Well, I mean, you could adjust, but again, that's the difference, because I don't address
So have you been insulted?
Totally.
And called a nasty bitch, and you still would have that nice that nice benevolent response?
I do, because ultimately we're called to be the light. We're just the light. Yeah. So I would respond to the behavior. Mm-hmm. His behavior is this lashing out. And so how do you respond to that? You just say, I understand you're really upset with me, and that was never my intention.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can address the behavior, but not call him a name or just say.
I wouldn't. I mean, I have to you on the podcast. I just called him a nasty little shit.
I know, right? Strike that from the record. No, but the truth is, he behaved like a nasty little shit.
Yeah.
So a lot of times again, this goes back to when my boys were young. It's like, Johnny's a stupid idiot. No. He's an amazing young boy. He's awesome. He's beautiful. He's powerful. He's a creator. He's behaving like a stupid idiot.
Yeah. So you take it away from it being the person.
It's not the person. It's
I'm glad that we had this conversation, because it is a behavior thing, and if you can make that distinction, you can address it correctly.
Yeah. So that's all I just do, is separate the behavior from the actual character. Right. And it usually and I apologize even for stuff that it's not even my fault, but I still put it out there, because I want to clear that.
Yes, that's how I feel.
I just want to clear it.
You just want to purify all this rubble that's left lying around.
Smudge it. So, thank you for taking me down this journey.
It's been lovely. Thank you for your advice. I liked
it's not advice. I'm just telling you what I do.
Well, yes, not advice, but perspective.
Yeah. And
the next podcast, I'll let you know if I have made some headway with it.
I would love to know.
Well, I'm going to rest on it for a few days.
If it's important to you. If it's not,
well, it's unfinished business for me. It doesn't
real.
feel finished to me, but that's because I have to kind of examine myself a bit. So I'll see what I come up with.
Well, some of the strongest relationships that I have in my life right now are the ones where I even when they know, and you know, and he knows that you were not the one that was wrong. But if you take the high road and you just tuck your ego away, it's not dishonoring your ego. It's actually
restraint, harnessing it.
It's you're transmuting it. Oh. You're transmuting your ego from a physical self to a glowing spiritual self.
Yeah, you're merging.
You're emerging, and you're transmuting from the 3D to the 5D, 6, 7, 8, 12D space, where you're just this multi-energetic form of light. And you're responding with just perfect, beautiful, divine, peaceful sovereignty.
Yeah, there you go.
And you're just saying, because you know what? I can go outside and I can look at the sun in the sky, and I can just put out all of the cuss words, all of the darkness. I could just blast it with darkness, and the light doesn't care.
No, it's not moved.
The light's going to go, I'm the light, I'm shining, and I understand that you're going through some roughness, and I'm okay with that, but I'm still going to be the light, So.
Well, good.
Anyway.
Well, thank you, darling. That was a good one.
Well, I never know what to expect, but this is cool. So anyway, Sarah, let's wrap this up.
Okay.
How do people get a hold of you? Like, I haven't hardly seen you. You're writing your new... Tell me about your new book.
Yes, so I have 3 books coming out on the next podcast.
Not just one book, folks. 3 books. She's the
2 of them are 95%
such an underachiever.
done. Well, my novel is the one that I really got to get. That's why I've been having my head down, because I have book 2 of the Starside Prophecy, and there's going to be 3. Did I tell you that you're in book 3, just conceptually? I know. Isn't that going to be fun?
So you have a pilot? You have a pilot in your... Am I a pilot?
No.
Do I have wings? Do I have at least wings?
You're an angel, darling. Yeah, you have beautiful wings.
Okay, as long as I have wings.
Glowing.
Okay. So
and Sarah Tirri at gmail.com if you want to send me an email, ask me any questions, that's good. And Amazon is where you can buy my books. We have The Mirror World. The Mirror World is likening our existence to a virtual reality game, and we're living in a matrix, and I talk you through that. That's a journal. It's 8,000 words. You can read that in about 40 minutes. And that I wrote that for myself because I needed to hear it. And then Is This the Best God Could Do? That's a polemic. It's a critique of Christianity. And then The Starside Prophecy, that's my sci-fi fantasy novel. So they're all available on Amazon. And get in touch. You can always get in touch on my blog, sarahtirri.com, and you can leave me a message there. I'd love to hear from you.
I love having you here.
Thank you, darling.
All
It's
right,
been
be well.
lovely.
Have a good week,
Yes,
okay?
You too.
Bye.
Soul Decodes, a feature presentation, airs every Friday on the Earth Angel Media Network. This episode of Soul Decodes is sponsored and produced by Live Pure. Optimize your life by taking your health to the next level. Listen now to learn how Live Pure will make your world better.
Live Pure is an American-based distribution system of online portals that give discounted access to clean, potent, natural, and ethically sourced healthy solutions for fat loss, muscle gain, immaculate skin care, immune system support, whole body cleanse, physiological balance, and performance support for athletes of all ages. Live Pure handpicks the best products and nutrients from world-class companies, always adding to their quickly growing wellness lineup that now includes Korean skincare, medical-grade nutraceuticals listed as pharmaceutical alternatives in the physician's desk reference, and healthy coffee that rivals the world's best, but for only about $1 per cup. Soul Decodes listeners looking for vitality, youth, beauty, and better health can get 25% off retail by visiting livepure.com/Sarah Tirri and signing up for free as a preferred customer. If you are a content creator, influencer, or home-based entrepreneur looking for worldwide cash flows from the emerging gig economy, Live Pure's state-of-the-industry brand partner affiliate program can bring you up to 7 different payment vectors as bonuses. As a content creator aligned with Live Pure and Earth Angel Media, you will enjoy massive co-marketing benefits, including a cutting-edge website that is personally branded to you or to your business. Sign up as a brand partner at livepure.com/Sarah Tirri, or drop us a note at connect@earthangelproject.com to get more information.